I say everything is it's the presidential reality show. People have lost their minds. They become prescription drug addicted and fast food fattened. America doesn't have the fight anymore. As I mentioned to you, people say, "Oh, you're a gloom and doomer." I came out with Trends 2000, my book, back in 1997, a Warner book, and I was so optimistic about the nation. People were talking about moving forward in positive ways. And as you said, up is down and down is up. They don't call a war in Libya a war. It's what? A time-limited, scope-limited action. The UK is now sending over, quote, advisors, and Italy and France, officers. What am I, 6 years old?
And they were already there months ago. They were there before it started.
Well, I know, but now they're admitting it. But they're putting these white shoe boy names on them. Advisors. That's what they call the Vietnam War. Hey, remember Korean War? That was a police action. Nothing's really changed. It's only getting worse. And as you're talking about the economy, I read something from Jim Sinclair. He really put it well. He said something to the effect of Orwell's 1984, how they used to keep blasting out these messages and putting them on the big screen. He said, now, the business networks are the 1984, putting out the propaganda. And that's all it is. It's more propaganda on top of old propaganda. They won't call a spade a spade. Everybody knows that the only reason that this economy is keeping up at any level at all is because of all the digital money that they've dumped into the system, the trillions. Look what gold is doing. You mentioned I called gold at 275. You called it at 260. And look where it is now. Oh, and by the way, here's one for you. Go to Forbes magazine. They did a big story on me. You know what they called it? They called it something about doomsayers forecasting. And we had forecast at that time gold was around $720 an ounce. They interviewed my assistant, who when she came to work for us, her bond company went bust. She cashed out all her 401ks and put it into gold. And then, now remember, gold is about $725 at the time.
It's more than doubled since then a few years ago.
Exactly. So now they write this. Well, Celente's a doom and gloomer, and gold could go down easily go down below 5.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're bad because we're right.
So now we contacted these little weasels that Forbes, this guy would be nothing if his daddy didn't have any money, right? Now, he's the big mouth out there. Do you know they won't even write a retraction? They won't even say that we're right. After they took a cheap shot at me, that flabbermouth out there, he's all over the place. Celente was right, Forbes was wrong. And they won't give you any credit for it.
Well, they also run around.
They pounce on you, as you know.
Well, they also run around and say that you're wrong about saying we're in a depression. By every yardstick, what, 3/4?
Oh, yeah.
3/4 of no growth and a few other indicators is a depression. We're now, with Cook Books, several years into no growth, with the debt spiraling out of control. If this isn't a depression, with half the restaurants I used to go to being closed where I live, commercial real estate going under, the news coming out that private real estate, home real estate is still plunging, and they tell us that's great.
Look at the numbers. Home real estate values are down to worse than Great Depression levels. How's that for a Depression-era level? Go to John Williams' shadow statistics. Look up the unemployment rate. It's around 22%. Here, try this one on, Alex. Yeah, there's a recovery. You know where the recovery's coming from? 10% of the population in the United States owns 90% of all the stocks, all the bonds, all the mutual funds. 5% owns 63% of everything. No, there's not a depression. Oh, in the meanwhile out there, everybody's wages have declined. Oh, but there's not inflation out there. Oh, no, they cook those numbers too. Of course there's a depression going on. People are losing everything.
All right, I want to go back because you can always remember what journal, what date, and people can go to your website and pull it up and see it for themselves. But I remember over a year ago, because it was early 2010, you said it's going to be clear that it's a depression by the end of the year, and it's clear a few months ago. And you said there's going to be war, and it's going to be in the Middle East, it's going to be in Central Asia, and you absolutely called it. What journal was that, so people can go to Trends Research?
The Spring 2010 Trends Journal. It was the Great War. And then this past autumn, we came out with Off With Their Heads 2.0. And the Trends Journal that just came out yesterday, the whole issue is devoted to the first great war of the 21st century. You put all the pieces together, Alex, when you're talking about the police state we're living in, because they know it's happening. It's out of control, and the last thing they're going to do is to control us. That's all the plan. Look, Libya's not a one-off. Tunisia, Egypt, Bahrain, Yemen, Algeria, Morocco, Syria, Jordan.
How did you know? How did you know?
Because you know how I knew? For the same reason Bernie Madoff knew. Bernie Madoff did an interview recently, and he said what we've been saying all along. It's nothing more than one big Ponzi scheme. When they came out with the TARP bailouts in 2008, we sent out a trend alert, and we said in that trend alert that when all else fails, they take you to war. That's what's going on. They can't bail out any more European banks. Oh, and by the way, this hardly made the news. As you know, Finland just voted in a new party. They're not going to be party to the bailouts. If all the European nations, the EMU nations, don't go into the bailouts, it doesn't happen. Where are they? What's a bailout, by the way? Oh, here's a bailout for you. What bailout? How about bailing in? They give you more debt. They cannot handle the debt load.
Well, the bankers get the money, and then we get to pay them interest for the right to give them money. That's how sick this is. The Wall Street Journal reports today a 77% profit in 2010 for General Electric, who basically runs the White House Economic Council and paid zero corporate tax, ladies and gentlemen. And it's GE and their MSNBC scapegoating the middle class, Alex Jones, Gerald Celente, you know, doctors, lawyers, professors. We're being scapegoated and told we've got to pay more to, quote, fix the debt, but the money that we pay goes right to the bankers.
Exactly, and that's why we came off with that, with the Off With Their Heads Trends Journal. And that's what's going on in Europe. The only reason why Europe hasn't imploded yet, like the Middle East, is because there, in the Middle East, people have their autocrats, the monarchs, the dictators. In Europe, they're still living under the illusion that they have a democracy. So, like in Ireland, they just put in another criminal group to replace the other criminal group. They're still living under the illusion that you can change it in the ballot box.
And let me stop you. The system knows the illusion is wearing thin, and so now everything we've told people about, because it was public, is now being announced. Not just Apple, all smartphones under federal law, Telecommunications Act of '96, track you in real time, upload your location, give them all your data. Police all over the country have wireless systems with back doors. They don't even hack it, that get into your phone and steal everything off of it. They're just doing it. They pull you over for speeding, grab your phone without a warrant, plug it in, steal your data. TSA doing the same thing when you try to fly, steal your laptop data. I mean, they are so criminal, Gerald. And you go back last year, Bloomberg reports, 11 years ago, secret deal signed, Veterans Affairs with the big insurance companies to secretly steal the life insurance money of World War III vets through current vets. I mean, to even get my mind around how unbelievably criminal they are and that they've been authorized to do it, it staggers the imagination that they're going for broke. They've committed so many crimes, Gerald, they're not going to stop.
Alex, you know that I was one of the first people when they started all these bailouts under Bush and it continued under Obama, and they called it socialism and Marxism, I said, no, it's not. It's fascism. Fascism has come to America. The merger of state and corporate powers. You just talked about GE. Do you have to go any further than that? You could keep going down the line. You're talking about all the apps and everything else with how the companies are all working in tandem together to rob us. Fascism has come to America. Here, try this one on. I unilaterally decided that our core interests and that of our allies are at stake. So we're going to bomb Libya. Whatever happened to we the people? That's a really, an arcane concept.
Whatever happened to Congress? It's illegal.
Exactly. But I'm saying it's gone. It's over. And that's what our issue is. The first great war, and what we're telling people to do is to prepare, survive, and prevail. Because people better grow up here. The game is over. Here's a good one for you. Today, Hillary Clinton.
Gerald, stay there. You know what? I know you've got other interviews probably today.
Look what they're doing. They're putting the guise of war as humanitarian missions. At least Bush called it a preemptive issue. They're taking us to war under the guise of humanitarian, and they're using that again as part of the nomenclature. And it's exactly right. The traitors are amongst us, and the people. Again, the people have lost the fight in this country. I just read an article about in Ohio, for example, there are more kids dying from overdosing on prescription drug painkillers than auto accidents or drunk driving. So that the whole morality of the nation is being rotted out. I was mentioning before the break about what I read today, Hillary Clinton chastising Gaddafi for allegedly using cluster bombs. And I said to myself, wow, that's interesting. How about all that depleted uranium the United States dumped all over Iraq? Oh, that's okay.
And now Libya.
Oh yeah, and how about Israel, bombing Lebanon with cluster bombs? Oh, not a peep about that. So and how about those Predator drones? Listen, Gaddafi's a rookie. I mean, he should be picking up America's atrocities. Could you imagine if they had a Abu Ghraib in Libya? How they would be talking about that? And the mainstream media, you know what I've come up with a name for them. They're nothing more than prostitutes. They're whores for the people in power. It's the revolving door. You have this guy, Carney, James Carney, the White House spokesperson. Hey, where did he come from? Geez, Time Magazine. He couldn't have been a Yaley, could he? You mean Harvard, Princeton, Yale, bullets, bombs, and banks? So the whole thing, Alex, it is a world order, and all you have to do to see the proof is to see who took most of the money from the Fed discount window. Foreign banks. What's Fed money going to bail out foreign banks? $20 trillion worth of back-end deals on the other end, going to Bank of Scotland, Japan, to the Deutsche Bank, on and on. So anybody that I used to say, this New World Order, come on. The golden rule, those who have the gold rule. And the gold is coming out of our pockets, stole by the Fed, and spread over to the other world banks that are running the show.
Well said. Let's continue for 5 minutes. Is the point I'm trying to get home. Admit we have a criminal government. Doesn't mean all the cops are criminal, the school teachers, even the bureaucrats. The system is unequitable. It's designed to bring in tyranny. And it's a bunch of insiders who got their people into the bureaucracy in the last 100 years, who have sold us out to foreign banks, and they have a religion. I mean, the globalists admit that they're post-industrializing us for our own good. They're making us poor for our own good, but then they're going to live like kings. And they are going after our First Amendment, everything. And people listening out there, you were getting into your research. They now admit this whole world government, Gerald. You were elaborating on the fact that this is a world government. Looking forward into the future, not just the near future, but out from that, how do you see this ending? Because now the rats are starting to leave the sinking ship. We're now seeing globalists like Newt Gingrich saying, get rid of Bernanke. We're now seeing polls showing the majority of people want to get rid of the Fed. Looks like this ruling class that controls the political class of whores is in trouble.
Well, to an extent, but remember, the game is rigged and they're running the game. I mean, to me, the only outside shot is a Ron Paul. And, I was on, he's one of the people I like to be on a lot with is Judge Andrew Napolitano and on Fox. And he told me one of the most successful shows he had was when he had Ron Paul and Ralph Nader on, talking about a progressive libertarian party. Progressive in the terms of foods, like you mentioned, e-foods, and they're clean food. And by the way, I coined that term clean food in 1993. So yeah, I'm concerned about what I eat. I'm concerned about the environment and the water. And yet I'm with Ron Paul on the other end. I don't want my money going overseas. I love this Hillary Clinton. She's a real sport with our dough. She just told Japan, we'll help them out too. They go around and give our money to everybody. We just gave Israel some more money for their missile defense system. I'm sick and tired of these people telling me where my money has to go.
By the way, they're going to make the Japanese people pay for Tokyo Electric and General Electric, even though the General Electric's own engineers quit 30-something years ago when they built those. So General Electric, Tokyo Electric, they don't have to pay nothing. The Japanese people, they're going to pay.
And we'll pay, because she's already donated some of our money. So what I'm saying is that the only way out, to answer your question to me, is a third party. Because this isn't democracy in America. They don't represent us. And you talk about the cops. 2 weeks ago, I got 2 tickets, one on a Saturday night and one on a Sunday. And yeah, this kid, he was groomed to be a perfect young Nazi, Oh,
no, they're crawling all over everything, but then won't respond to real crime now.
Exactly. So they've become the police have become the enforcers for the crime bosses. You haven't seen one head roll on Wall Street. So what I say to the police, and I know a number of them, do what's right morally, not what your corrupt boss who's tied into the politicians is telling you to do to bring more revenue in because taxes are going down. Do what's right morally. And to me, Alex, that's the only way out of all of these problems.
Well, no amount of taxes. I mean, just a few years ago, I'd drive to work and I'd see 5 cops. Now, I might see 20. I mean, they are feeding on us, and they're pulling people over for going 1 mile over the speed limit now.
I know. I'm saying, I don't want to go out at night anymore. I have one drink and I only, will they be after me? Meanwhile, as I said, the real criminals, like try Congress, they get off with a slap. How about that guy, Charlie Wrangler? Remember him?
Yeah.
Remember all the stuff that he got caught doing? How about all these people like Daschle and Geithner who never pay their taxes? Oh, they get caught and they say, oh, I made a mistake. You or I get caught. Boy, we're doing hard time for a long time.
Yeah, so, Gerald,
again,
give us your website.
We need a new third party.
Give folks your website again.
Trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com. And we just came out yesterday with the spring issue. It's one that you shouldn't miss. It's a collector's piece.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you so much.